when you see the numbers of their frequency, what that also clearly indicates is that there's a strong commitment, and they're a dedicated passing team. And when you make that decision, just as, again, the comparison to Georgia Tech, Jerry, there's a sophistication in the schemes in which they run, because they know that when certain runs aren't working, Georgia Tech isn't going to say, okay, we got to start passing more. They're going to keep running. Now, they're going to either change the particular run patterns they have or change the schemes around which they utilize the actual backfield action. Duke is the same way in their fashion. You know, that when they have difficulty passing the game, passing the ball, they don't suddenly say, okay, well, now we're going to run it 60 times in this game. No, they say we just have to find some patterns that'll get open better than the ones that we've been running. So there is certainly that similarity, and as I mentioned, it was going to be very important during the course of the game with Georgia Tech that we got good feedback as to how those patterns were, those schemes were changing. And in grading the video yesterday, for future reference, and just information on the game itself, recorded all the schemes as well as the plays. So there might have been play A, but there was also 1, 2, 3 versions of it, and how we had to change up against that. It'll be a similar circumstance here with the patterns. That against this, obviously, there's certain fronts that Georgia Tech would want to run certain plays or schemes, and there's certain coverages now that Duke will want to run certain patterns against. He's showing, the value of being a 4-year starter. Those of you who were here to see him in his true freshman year, or I guess it was down there when we played him as a true freshman, will remember that it was pretty challenging for him. He had a very difficult time that day, and as might be expected with a first-year quarterback against an ACC defense. He's now a 4th-year quarterback with probably in all likelihood more starts than any quarterback in the Atlantic Coast Conference at this current time. So, one, that certainly shows. And not only the 4th year as an ACC starter, but the 2nd year under David Cutcliffe, who's got great experience and know-how in the development of quarterbacks. And he clearly has profited by that. You know, again, there's some interesting, I haven't really thought of all this out coming over here, but thinking on the run here, there's another interesting comparison to last week. Josh Nesbitt's in an offense that clearly suits his skills, and with a coach who knows that offense very well, and he's now in his 2nd year operating that offense. And he's certainly has elevated his performance from the 1st to the 2nd year. And Thad Lewis is the same way. You know, he's with a coach who really knows the offense that he's teaching him, and he's in the 2nd year with it, and he's really elevated his performance. And as a result, both players have elevated their teams as really only that position can do. Anytime, I think they've only given up, they've thrown the ball more than any team in the conference, and they've only given up 12 sacks this year, or something in that 12 or in the low teens. So that's always a function of a number of different things. But one of the things that you know for sure, even with real good pass protectors, if it's in a low number like that, the ball's coming out pretty quickly, because even the very best pass protectors can only hold them out for so long. They're a 4-3 scheme, over, a little bit under, but mostly over. Match man for man in zone. Not that that's dramatic, but we play some teams that play little to no man. This is a team that'll play more man for man. Now that creates a different circumstance for receivers. Now it's up to them to win one-on-one. Now if you win, you usually kind of get a big return on it. But it can also result in the quarterback having to hold the ball and not be in the rhythm that he wants. And coaches, we're certainly this way. I'm sure people observing them are this way, are like, hey, throw it, you know, don't hold it, throw it, throw it. Well, sometimes, again, if you have effective man-for-man coverage, there's nobody to throw it to. That's the dilemma for the quarterback. Hey, what do you want me to do with it? You know, there's nobody open, and you don't want me to stand there. I understand that, but I don't have anybody to throw it to either. What should I do with it? So we're going to get a combination of both.
Has Nate kind of emerged as a guy that could play on Sunday?
Nate is certainly it's still essentially the halfway mark of the season. Nate is certainly playing himself into that position. He's probably making a similar move on that. Say that Alvin Pierman utilized his senior season to do. He's made plays. He's made a lot of those plays, Jeff, on overall athletic ability, but the efficiency of how he played his position from play to play is dramatically upgraded. And that's why we probably all remember plays that he made, just as you're citing, probably remember plays that he made, but have not seen the kind of production numbers that we're seeing this year. That was just one of those cases where the particular style really fit one player's game, and that particular style didn't fit the other player's game as well. And but Nick's done a real good job for us, and actually, as we discussed on Saturday, we might not have been in the same situation last year if Nick hadn't sprained his ankle at the end of the North Carolina game and was in fact unavailable for the Georgia Tech game. And so Nate moved up and did a terrific job, and would have been foolish to not take advantage of that again.
But is it common for the long snapper to be one of the first guys downfield to be able to make those tackles or save the ball?
In this protection scheme, it often is. But that was a very good play on Danny's part. Very good play. That's one of the advantages we were discussing this last week, and some of the advantages of the scheme. And one of the things is that it allows all the protectors to be moving forward into their protection rather than backing up as the NFL-style spread punt does. And it allows everybody to get out a little bit faster. And Danny tries very hard to take advantage of that. You are right about the fact that we have not had the continuity of the back himself that would be preferable. Jackson wasn't available in the first game. Simpson made a cameo appearance, both coming off their training camp injuries, both of which were freak injuries. We were enthusiastic about getting Wallace into the mix, and he only was able to give us that one game. And Simpson had his issue again, so we haven't had that's not just in the games itself, but obviously when they're in those circumstances, they miss practice time. And so probably that's a contributing issue, but I would still like to make the answer be that if the holes were bigger, most anybody could run through them.